I'm Michael Montalto. I'm the doctor in charge of Hospital in the Home at Epworth Healthcare here in Melbourne in Australia. I run the Hospital in the Home department here and have done for a couple of decades. We refer to Hospital in the Home as an acute hospital substitution service. So it's a model of care that provides staff, technology that normally you would only find in hospital and delivers them to patients at home. And the patients would be the kind of patients that would otherwise be in hospital were it not for Hospital in the Home. That's the most, I guess, generally accepted definition of Hospital in the Home. Well, it was kind of youthful ignorance, I guess. I was very young when I was exposed to a theoretical model of Hospital in the Home and was interested in it academically. And then I was lucky enough to be in a position where the state government in Victoria, in Australia, decided to fund Hospital in the Home services within Australian or Victorian public hospitals. And I volunteered to establish a service in 1994. And alongside that, that service, I've grown both my academic interest and my clinical interest and my policy interest and my advocacy in Hospital in the Home. So it's really been a very long but very unpredictable journey because there really wasn't a pathway when I started. So in that sense, it's been, kind of exciting to be involved in something from a very, very early stage and watch it grow over the years into something that's now not just understood, but it's actually starting to grow and gain momentum, not just in Australia, but internationally. And that's been really fantastic. And it's also been great to see patients, general patients, who years ago would not have had any idea about what we were talking about in Hospital in the Home, who now do come to the service already having some idea of what it is that Hospital in the Home provides for them. So that's been my journey, and it's been great. The days in my life are relatively routine. I spend the first thing in the morning. I have a teleconference with my doctors, and we discuss the patients from the previous night, and we decide which of our patients needs to be seen and who will see them. Then I head out and see patients in the morning in their homes and make sure that things are going well, check their blood test results, check them, discuss their problems, discuss their fears, get a clinical assessment, make a plan for their treatment. And then, so that's my morning, seeing several patients in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I return to the hospital, and I will then see patients who've been referred to the Hospital in the Home service and assess them. I deal with paperwork, test results, test ordering, liaising with my nursing staff who always have jobs for me to do, some of them that I want to do and some of them I have to do. And so I spend the afternoon, generally speaking, dealing with hospital issues. And then, of course, the day doesn't end because I'm often on call. So we have an on-call roster for our patients, and I'm a significant contributor to that on-call roster. So I spend many of my evenings on call, accepting new patients from the emergency department or dealing with problems that my nurses run into when they're seeing patients in the afternoon or the evenings at home, or occasionally a patient who rings up with a concern, and we address those. And that keeps me occupied in the evenings as well. So it's a busy sort of day. Look, it's a great clinical experience, right? Because we both have the intensive and acute nature of hospital work and hospital technologies, which are great to use and which are challenging, but we also have the experience of delivering that care to people in their homes, and they're usually incredibly appreciative of that. So it's that kind of it's a unique mixture of acute hospital medicine and home practice, and it's also about doing things for people in ways that really address their personal needs, that rather than be in hospital, they would prefer to be at home, and we work out the issues and the difficulties of doing that. Now, for many people, that's routine to us, but for some patients, there are challenges that we have to overcome to deliver their particular care at home, and it's always really gratifying to be able to put together a solution to some difficult problems, be they difficult technical problems from our end in terms of delivering the care, or sometimes difficult social problems or home-based problems at the other end for the patient to receive that care. So it's bringing that together, and that really is very gratifying. It's also gratifying, as I referred to earlier, to be, within a movement that's growing and expanding, and that really, that gives you a good feeling. It's a validating feeling. It makes you feel like you're at the pointy end of something, and I think we are at the pointy end of something. And so that's also very good feeling. So in terms of contributing to the area as a whole, either as a presenter or as a researcher or as a reviewer, all of those things are also very gratifying. So that keeps me going. I've been doing this a long time. I haven't got sick of it in all of that time. There's always something to keep me engaged. I guess the obstacles are different for different countries, different systems, and different clinicians, I think. I still think one of the greatest obstacles is for us within hospital and home to more clearly establish who we are and to more clearly establish the standards and criteria for what we do. And I think that's a challenge for us to do that internally, not just for our sake, but so that people who pay for our service and people who refer into our service have a clearer understanding of what it is that we do, and so that the relationship is firmer. So the challenge is still around definition of our service, definition of who we are as doctors and hospital and home nurses, so that we have a firmer place in that spectrum of care that's out there, where everyone otherwise knows their place, and I think we need to find our place. It's still important that we have good relationships with the people who fund our service, so that they understand that what we're doing is unique and difficult and challenging and requires a particular way of funding the service, so that we can continue to do our work. Research is a challenge in hospital and home. It's very difficult. There's not many clinicians. There's not that much money available, and it's a difficult scenario in which to do research. But it's very important that we write about what we're doing. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge to get the resources to do good research, and it's a challenge to actually conduct that research. Having said that, it's actually pretty easy now to be published because people are interested in what we're doing. So if we meet the challenge of research, then we have a reward at the end in terms of publication. I think they're the major challenges for us. I think we're still a small group too, so it's important that we come together and support ourselves. And things like the World Congress are an important part of that, where we can overcome some of the barriers of being small groups spread very far and wide. It's important to come together as a bigger group, and that's a challenge for us. And we need to take every opportunity that we can find to do that. That's a good question. I think the most common misconceptions about hospital and home are that we are just a community nursing service. Nothing against community nursing services at all, but a misconception is that because we're not in the hospital, that we are by necessity not acute, not highly technical, and not highly skilled, and that's just not the case. It assumes, for example, that we don't provide our own after-hours care. That's just not the case. We do. So there is a kind of an expectation, a lowered expectation among some people that we need to lift and say, no, there's many other things that we do other than what you think. The other misconceptions are, that there aren't doctors directly involved in hospital and home care, that it's only a nursing service, and I think that's a common misconception that we sometimes deal with. That that we're not a 7-day-a-week service or a 24-hour-a-day service. That's a common misconception. And just a misconception around the kind of conditions and the severity of patients that we can otherwise accept. So, for example, many people would think that we can't take a patient directly from the emergency department because they feel we're not geared to do that, when in fact we are geared to do that. And these things take time to get people to change their understanding. So it's around conceptions of what are the limits of what we can do and the expectations of what we can do. The other misconception that is around is that we're cheap. We're incredibly efficient. And that's in fact not the case. We're providing highly skilled staff, high technological input care to people at home, and the travel and the logistics required around that mean that we aren't a cheap form of service. We're an alternative form of service. So there are inbuilt inefficiencies in what we do that need to be considered when funding the service. So a lot of people, their first impression is to say, well, hospital in the home is cheap. It must be cheap, and it's actually not cheap. And like anything, if you do something properly, it's not cheap, right? And so I'm sure that you might be able to do this in a cheap way, but to do it properly, to address the needs of unwell people at home, it actually requires resources to do that. So that's another misconception, and we need to challenge that. Well, I want everyone to know that over the next generation, that we will form an integral part of the spectrum of services that a hospital provides. So we expect hospitals to provide an emergency department. We expect hospitals to provide an intensive care unit. We expect them to have theatres. We're going to expect them to deliver acute care at home. That's what I want people to know. And then we need to work towards that on the assumption that that's what is going to happen. And it's going to happen because the technology is going to let it happen. It's going to happen because patients want it to happen, and it's going to happen because we're capable of doing it and funded to do it. So that's what I want people to know, that we expect to be part of the system in the future, and that we have to work on the basis that we will be part of the hospital system in the future, rather than being a project or a special kind of niche thing that someone has a particular interest in. That's not what I want people to know. I want people to see us as not mainstream yet, but will be mainstream. And to get there, we need to get it right now, so that it can slot in as a mainstream service in years to come, without hospitals feeling that it's anything unusual or different or special even. I'm looking forward to meeting people that I don't meet very often, but what comes with that is not just information about what's happening, but a sense of momentum. I think what I loved about the first meeting was that there was a sense of momentum, there was a sense of growth, and that the conference was bigger than itself, in the sense that it wasn't just looking back and reporting on what people have done, but it was looking forward and saying, wow, look at what we've done. Let's have a talk about it, but where are we going? And what was great is to see the ideas and the activity that have spun out of the last conference, from people getting together, thinking about it, talking about it, being challenged. Maybe all they needed was another little push, and you get that push from the kind of enthusiasm that comes from bringing everyone together, particularly from other countries. We have our meetings in our own countries, but sometimes, they can be the same things, by the same people. Whereas at a World Congress, we have different thoughts, different ideas, different presentations from different people that you've never met before. And when you're talking about the same core principles, that really leads to a sense of encouragement, to a sense of enthusiasm, that grows from that. And so I guess what I'm looking for is to go there, to be filled with that sense of encouragement, and to be able to come back with new ideas and new enthusiasm to go forward, and also to help others who can benefit from the experiences that we've had, so that, you know, experiences that we've somehow forgotten to other people, it's brand new, and that always is a good thing, to be reminded that the thing that your experiences actually have value to other people beyond you, even when you've long forgotten about those experiences. So, and, you know, just to, you know, have a beer with people that you know, you kind of work with in the Congress, and who you've only ever met by email and by webinars. And I think that those are very limiting ways of interacting, and I think being there in person is much better. So I'm very, very, very much looking forward to that.